Imagine, if you will, standing at the edge of an ocean that existed 450 million years ago. The water before you holds no familiar life, no whales, no dolphins, no sea turtles. The continents themselves wear different faces, and the very air carries a strange chemistry. Yet in these alien depths, something extraordinary is taking shape. Something that will outlive mountains, outlast ice ages, and witness the rise and fall of entire worlds. In these primordial waters, the first sharks are being born. Before we continue this journey, tell us where you're tuning in from. And if this story resonates with you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extraordinary for you. 4.5 billion years, that is the age of our planet. For most of that unimaginable span, Earth was a world of single cells and simple organisms. But in the Ordovician seas, evolution was crafting something revolutionary. Picture the moment when primitive fish began to transform, their heavy bones dissolving away, replaced by something far more elegant cartilage. Flexible, lightweight, and perfectly suited for a life in 3 dimensions. These early sharks were nothing like the sleek predators we know today. They were experimental creatures, nature's first attempts at perfecting the art of underwater flight. Some bore strange spines along their backs, others sported bizarre arrangements of fins. They were living rough drafts in evolution's greatest engineering project, the creation of the perfect aquatic hunter. Consider for a moment the magnitude of what was happening. While our distant ancestors were nothing more than primitive jawless fish clinging to the seafloor, sharks were developing something that would prove virtually indestructible. Their cartilaginous skeletons bend instead of breaking. Their skin, covered in tiny tooth-like scales called denticles, reduces drag and creates silent movement through water. Their multiple rows of continuously replacing teeth ensure they are never without their tools. The Great Dying came 252 million years ago. The Permian extinction, as scientists call it, was the most catastrophic event in Earth's history. Imagine volcanoes erupting continuously for 2 million years, poisoning the atmosphere, acidifying the oceans, and raising global temperatures beyond the tolerance of most life. 96% of all marine species vanished forever. Trilobites, which had ruled the seafloor for 270 million years, disappeared completely. Entire groups of organisms that had thrived for eons were erased from existence. But sharks endured. They swam through the toxic waters, their ancient design proving more resilient than creatures that seemed far more advanced. While elaborate reef systems collapsed and complex ecosystems unraveled, sharks continued their timeless patrol of the depths. They had discovered something profound about survival. Sometimes the simplest solutions are the most enduring. The recovery took millions of years. Slowly, tentatively, new forms of life emerged from the devastation. Dinosaurs rose to dominate the land, their reign lasting 165 million years. In the seas, marine reptiles like plesiosaurs and ichthyosaurs claimed the role of apex predators. Ammonites with their spiral shells became the architects of underwater cities. The oceans filled once again with the complexity of life. Yet through it all, sharks remained. They watched ichthyosaurs hunt in the same waters where sharks had hunted for 200 million years before them. They witnessed the first marine dinosaurs take their tentative steps into their domain, and when the Great Dying came again, this time from space sharks would prove their resilience once more. 66 million years ago, an asteroid 10 kilometers wide struck the Yucatan Peninsula with the force of 10 billion atomic bombs. The impact, vaporized rock, created tsunamis thousands of feet high and filled the atmosphere with debris that blocked out the sun for months. The age of dinosaurs ended in a single, catastrophic moment. In the darkness that followed, 3/4 of all species on Earth perished. But in the depths of the world's oceans, where sunlight had never been the primary source of energy, sharks continued their ancient rhythms. They had evolved to thrive in a world of scarcity, to go months without feeding, to sense opportunity in the darkest waters. While the great marine reptiles vanished and the elaborate ecosystems of the Cretaceous collapsed, sharks emerged from the darkness, ready to inherit the seas. The story of their survival is written in limestone quarries and fossil beds around the world. In 1876, workers laying telegraph cables in the Atlantic hauled up something extraordinary from the deep. A tooth, the size of a human hand, serrated along its edges, perfect in its preservation. It belonged to Carcharocles megalodon, a shark that grew to lengths of 60 feet and ruled the oceans for 20 million years. Imagine encountering such a creature. Megalodon's jaws could have engulfed a small car. Its bite force exceeded that of Tyrannosaurus rex by a factor of 10. Yet for all its size and power, Megalodon followed the same basic body plan that sharks had perfected hundreds of millions of years earlier. The formula for success, once discovered, needed no improvement. Megalodon disappeared only 2.5 million years ago, a mere heartbeat in geological time. Early human ancestors walked the African savanna while these giants still patrolled the warming seas. Their extinction was not sudden but gradual, brought about by cooling oceans and the evolution of smaller, more efficient sharks that could survive in a changing world. This is the beauty of shark evolution. It is not a story of constant change but of perfect optimization. While other lineages experimented with ever more complex forms, sharks discovered a design so effective it required only refinement. Today's great white shark would be perfectly at home in seas of 100 million years ago, just as an ancient hybodont would recognize the hunting strategies of a modern tiger shark. Walk into any natural history museum and you will see the evidence of their success. Fossil sharks' teeth lie scattered through rock formations spanning 450 million years. Each tooth tells a story of ancient reefs where 6-foot sharks with spiral halls of teeth processed shellfish like living can openers, of deep Jurassic seas where sharks with broad crushing teeth fed on ammonites, of Cenozoic oceans where early great whites perfected the art of precision predation. But fossils tell only part of the story. The true measure of shark success swims in today's oceans. Over 500 species have evolved to fill every conceivable niche in the marine world. In the deepest trenches, where pressure would crush most life forms, 6-gill sharks glide through eternal darkness, their primitive 7 gill slits marking them as living fossils, virtually unchanged for 200 million years. Rise to the surface and meet the whale shark, a gentle giant stretching 60 feet in length, its mouth capable of engulfing thousands of gallons of water in a single gulp. Watch as it filter feeds on plankton and small fish, its throat no wider than a quarter despite its enormous size. Each whale shark wears a unique pattern of spots and stripes across its skin, as individual as a human fingerprint, allowing researchers to identify and track these wandering cathedrals of the sea. Descend to the midnight zone and discover the dwarf lantern shark, small enough to rest in the palm of your hand. In the eternal darkness of the deep sea, it has evolved its own constellation photophores along its belly that create a living star field, allowing it to blend with the faint light filtering down from above, while simultaneously sending coded messages to others of its kind. Each species represents millions of years of refinement, of adaptation to specific niches and hunting strategies. The hammerhead's bizarre skull spreads its sensory organs across a wider area, creating a biological metal detector that can find stingrays buried in sand. The thresher shark's impossibly long tail functions as a whip, stunning schools of fish with supersonic cracks before moving in for the feast. Some sharks have chosen cooperation over competition. Nurse sharks pile together in underwater caves, their bodies intertwined in social groups that challenge our assumptions about cold-blooded intelligence. Others, like the recently discovered pocket shark, have evolved to produce light from special organs, turning themselves into living beacons in the ocean's darkest depths. Yet perhaps the most remarkable thing about sharks is not their diversity, but their consistency. Despite 450 million years of evolution, despite surviving multiple mass extinctions, despite adapting to every ocean habitat on Earth, they remain essentially unchanged. They have discovered something that transcends the need for constant innovation, the perfect marriage of form and function. Their success is written in water itself. Every movement of a shark's body creates vortices that scientists are only now beginning to understand. Their skin, when examined under magnification, reveals a landscape of tiny teeth that reduce drag and create lift, inspiring new designs for aircraft and submarines. Their cartilaginous skeletons flex and bend in ways that would snap bone, allowing them to make turns impossible for any rigid-bodied creature. As we follow their story through deep time, we begin to understand that sharks are more than just successful predators. They are evolution's greatest achievement in marine design. They represent the discovery of a body plan so perfect, it has required no fundamental changes across nearly 500 million years of Earth's history. Tomorrow, we will dive deeper into their world and discover how these ancient forms became the architects of modern ocean ecosystems. We will witness the mathematical poetry of predation, where a single shark's presence sends ripples through entire food webs, creating patterns of abundance and balance that maintain the very heartbeat of the sea. But tonight, as you drift towards sleep, remember that somewhere in the vast darkness of the ocean, shapes are moving, that have moved in exactly the same way since before the first tree grew on land, since before the first vertebrate drew breath. They are the ocean's memory made flesh, carrying in their graceful movements the rhythm of a planet still learning how to sustain life. The shadows that emerged from ancient seas still glide through modern waters, unchanged and unchanging, eternal guardians of the deep. In the crystal-clear waters off Guadalupe Island, Mexico, a shadow moves with the measured grace of ancient royalty. She is 20 feet of pure predatory perfection, her scarred hide telling stories of decades in the deep. The researchers who have tracked her for years call her Deep Blue, and she may be the largest great white shark ever documented. But her true significance lies not in her impressive dimensions. It lies in the invisible rivers of influence that flow outward from her presence, like ripples from a stone cast into still water. Deep Blue is possibly 70 years old, a matriarch whose very existence maintains the delicate mathematics of life in these waters. When she glides through a kelp forest, her presence sends signals through the ecosystem that reach far beyond what the eye can see. Seals become more vigilant, their feeding patterns shifting to safer areas. Sea lions alter their diving behavior. Fish schools tighten their formations and change their routes through the underwater canyons. This is not fear, this is the language of ecological balance, spoken in the oldest dialect known to life on Earth. Watch as a single shark's hunting behavior shapes the destiny of an entire ecosystem. Off the coast of South Africa, where the Atlantic and Indian Oceans meet in a tumultuous marriage of currents, great whites patrol the seal colonies of Dyer Island. Their presence keeps the seal population healthy by removing the sick and weak, while simultaneously preventing overgrazing of the fish stocks that seals depend upon. But the influence extends much deeper than predator and prey. When seals avoid certain areas due to shark presence, kelp forests in those regions flourish undisturbed. These underwater cathedrals become nurseries for countless species of fish, their golden fronds swaying in the current like wheat in an ocean breeze. The fish attract seabirds, whose droppings fertilize nearby islands, supporting terrestrial ecosystems that might otherwise struggle in the harsh marine environment. Consider the mathematical poetry of this arrangement. Remove the sharks, and seals overfish certain areas, while avoiding others unnecessarily. Fish populations become unbalanced. Kelp forests either face overgrazing or underutilization. Seabird colonies suffer from reduced food sources. Islands lose their natural fertilizer. The entire system begins to unravel from the loss of its apex orchestrator. This phenomenon, where a single species exerts influence far beyond its apparent role, scientists call a trophic cascade. But that clinical term fails to capture the breathtaking elegance of what actually occurs. It is more like a symphony, where the shark plays the role of conductor, its movements directing the performance of thousands of other species in harmonious balance. Travel now to the warm, shallow waters of the Bahamas, where turtle grass meadows stretch like underwater prairies beneath the Caribbean Sunday. Here, tiger sharks patrol with the methodical precision of ancient farmers. These magnificent predators, their flanks decorated with the stripes that give them their name, maintain one of the ocean's most important carbon storage systems through their presence alone. Green turtles graze these meadows like living lawnmowers, their powerful jaws cropping the grass and stimulating new growth. But without tiger sharks, the turtles would overgraze, turning these productive meadows into barren sand flats. The shark's presence keeps the turtles moving, prevents overgrazing, and maintains the health of seagrass beds that store carbon at rates rivaling tropical rainforests. The numbers are staggering. A healthy seagrass meadow can store as much carbon per square meter as a terrestrial forest, locking it away in the sediment for centuries. The presence of tiger sharks in these systems helps maintain carbon storage equivalent to removing thousands of cars from the roads each year. Ancient predators have become accidental warriors in the fight against climate change, their hunting patterns helping to regulate the planet's carbon cycle. But the influence of sharks extends beyond horizontal ecosystems. It flows vertically through the ocean's layers like an underwater river connecting different worlds. In the deep waters off California, six-gill sharks demonstrate one of the most remarkable migrations on Earth, though few humans will ever witness it. These living fossils, virtually unchanged for 200 million years, spend their days in the abyss, where sunlight has never penetrated, and pressure would crush human bones to powder. But each night, driven by rhythms older than the continents, they begin to rise. 2,000 feet they climb, their primitive 7 gill slits filtering oxygen from increasingly rich water as they ascend toward the twilight zone. Imagine the journey from their perspective. They begin in a world of eternal darkness, where the only lights are the bioluminescent displays of deep-sea creatures creating their own constellations. As they rise, these lights become more frequent, more varied. Strange jellies pulse past like alien spacecraft. Squid flash complex patterns of communication across their skin. The water itself begins to change richer in nutrients, warmer, more alive. When they reach the twilight zone, that mysterious realm between the sunlit surface and the eternal deep, the six-gill sharks become part of the greatest migration on Earth. Every night, billions of creatures rise from the depths to feed in the plankton-rich waters near the surface. Every dawn they descend again, carrying nutrients from the productive surface waters down to the energy-starved depths. The sharks are living elevators in this vertical ecosystem, their massive bodies pumping nutrients between ocean layers. When they feed in the twilight zone and then return to the depths, they transport energy downward, supporting deep-sea communities that would otherwise starve. When they rise again the following night, their waste products fertilize the upper waters, supporting the microscopic plankton that produce half the oxygen we breathe. This vertical migration connects ocean layers in ways we are only beginning to understand. The nutrients transported by these daily journeys support food webs that span from the surface to the deepest trenches. Remove the migrating species, including the sharks that help orchestrate this movement, and the entire three-dimensional structure of ocean ecosystems begins to collapse. Consider the hammerhead schools that gather at underwater mountains throughout the tropics. At seamounts from the Galapagos to the Red Sea, hundreds of scalloped hammerheads form spiraling tornadoes of life, their bizarre heads creating a living constellation against the deep blue water. For years, scientists puzzled over these gatherings. Why would solitary predators come together in such numbers? What draws them to these underwater peaks? The answer lies in the invisible highways of the ocean. Seamounts create upwelling currents that bring nutrient-rich deep water to the surface, supporting explosions of plankton that attract small fish, which in turn attract larger predators. The hammerheads gather at these oases not just to feed, but to clean themselves at stations run by specialized fish, to mate, and perhaps to exchange information in ways we cannot yet decipher. But their presence transforms these seamounts into biodiversity hotspots. The sharks attract other species rays, tunas, dolphins, and seabirds, creating complex food webs centered around these underwater mountains. When fishing pressure removes the hammerheads, entire seamount ecosystems lose their focal point and begin to simplify, supporting fewer species and less complex interactions. The influence of sharks operates across scales that span from the microscopic to the oceanic. In coral reef systems, grey reef sharks patrol the outer edges where the reef meets the open ocean. Their presence allows smaller fish to venture into open water to feed on plankton, bringing energy back to the reef community. Remove the sharks, and the small fish become reef-bound, reducing the flow of nutrients from the open ocean to the coral ecosystem. This nutrient pumping is essential for coral reef health. Reefs exist in some of the most nutrient-poor waters on Earth. They are oases of productivity in oceanic deserts. The fish that venture into open water to feed on plankton and then return to the reef are like aerial tanker aircraft refueling a distant outpost. Sharks make this refueling possible by providing the security that allows small fish to risk the journey into open water. The mathematics of predation create patterns of beauty that rival any human art. In the waters off South Australia, great whites hunt fur seals with techniques passed down through generations. They patrol the channels between seal colonies and their feeding grounds, learning the behavior, patterns of their prey with the patience of master strategists. But their hunting creates temporal refuges for the seals. Most attacks occur during specific times of day when lighting conditions favor the sharks' ambush tactics. Seals have learned to time their movements to avoid these danger periods, creating natural rhythms that pulse through the ecosystem like a heartbeat. Fish, seabirds, and even invertebrates adjust their activities to these shark-imposed schedules, creating daily cycles of activity that structure the entire community. The influence flows in unexpected directions. In some systems, sharks create refuges for their own prey through their hunting patterns. California sea lions, under pressure from great white sharks, have learned to feed in deeper, cooler waters where sharks are less likely to attack. This behavioral shift has reduced competition with seabirds for surface fish, allowing bird populations to recover and supporting greater overall biodiversity in the system. Even in death, sharks continue to influence their ecosystems. When a large shark dies and sinks to the seafloor, it becomes a whale fall in miniature, a concentrated source of nutrients that supports specialized communities of scavengers and decomposers. Hagfish, sleeper sharks, and deep-sea crabs feast on the carcass, while bacteria break down the remaining tissues, releasing nutrients that fertilize the deep-sea environment. These shark falls create patches of enhanced productivity on the seafloor that can persist for years, supporting higher diversity and abundance of deep-sea life than the surrounding areas. They are like underwater oases, maintained by the legacy of a single predator's death. The networks of influence extend across ocean basins. Satellite tracking has revealed that some shark species undertake migrations spanning thousands of miles, connecting distant ecosystems through their movements. A mako shark tagged off New Zealand was later detected near Fiji, having covered 17,000 miles in less than 2 years. These animals are living bridges between ecosystems, carrying nutrients, parasites, and even smaller organisms from one region to another. Their migrations follow ancient highways written in water currents, temperature gradients, and magnetic fields that guide them across vast distances with remarkable precision. These pathways connect tropical coral reefs to temperate kelp forests, Arctic waters to equatorial seas, creating a global network of ecological connectivity that maintains genetic diversity and evolutionary potential across the world's oceans. As we track these movements through satellite telemetry and genetic analysis, we discover that the ocean is not a collection of separate ecosystems, but a single, interconnected system maintained by the movements of its apex predators. Sharks are the threads that weave these ecosystems together, their migrations creating a living fabric that maintains the health and resilience of marine life across the planet. Tomorrow, we will dive deeper into the sensory world that makes these ecological orchestrations possible. The symphony of senses that allows sharks to detect heartbeats through sand, navigate by magnetic fields, and communicate in languages we are only beginning to understand. We will discover how evolution has crafted the most sophisticated sensory systems on Earth, tools so advanced they challenge our understanding of what is possible in the natural world. But tonight, consider the invisible rivers flowing through our oceans, currents of influence that extend from every swimming shark, connecting all marine life in patterns of stunning complexity. In protecting these ancient predators, we preserve not just individual species, but the very architecture of ocean ecosystems, the living infrastructure that maintains the blue planet's ability to support life itself. Close your eyes and imagine detecting the electrical signature of a hidden fish's heartbeat through 2 feet of sand. Picture navigating across thousands of miles of open ocean, using only the Earth's magnetic field as your guide. Envision tasting a single drop of blood diluted in an Olympic-sized swimming pool, or seeing bioluminescent patterns invisible to human eyes in the eternal darkness of the deep sea. For us, these abilities belong to the realm of science fiction. For sharks, they are simply the ordinary tools of daily existence. Evolution has spent 450 million years crafting sensory systems so sophisticated they challenge our understanding of what is possible in the natural world. Sharks possess not 5 senses but 7, and some of these senses operate on principles that seem to bend the very laws of physics. They live in a sensory universe as alien to us as the surface of another planet, yet as perfectly adapted to their environment as anything evolution has ever created. Begin with what might be the most extraordinary sense on Earth, electroreception. Along the snouts of all sharks lie thousands of tiny pores, each one opening into a jelly-filled canal called an ampulla of Lorenzini. Named after the 17th century Italian anatomist who first described them, these organs can detect electrical fields as faint as 5 billionths of a volt per centimeter sensitivity that makes our most advanced scientific instruments look crude by comparison. Every living creature produces electrical fields. When your heart beats, it generates a tiny electrical impulse. When muscles contract, they create measurable electrical activity. Even the simple act of breathing produces detectable electrical signatures. For sharks, the ocean is filled with electrical music, the combined symphony of billions of living creatures, each broadcasting its presence through the involuntary electrical activities of life itself. Watch a hammerhead sweep its bizarre head back and forth as it swims over a sandy bottom. That strange skull, which seems like nature's mistake, is actually the most sophisticated electrical detection system on the planet. The wide spacing of the ampullae across the hammerhead's extended rostrum creates a biological radar array that can triangulate the exact location of electrical sources with remarkable precision. A stingray buried beneath 6 inches of sand, its body perfectly camouflaged and motionless, might believe itself invisible. But its gills must still pump water to extract oxygen, and each gill beat creates a tiny electrical field. Its heart must continue beating, generating regular electrical pulses. To the hammerhead swimming overhead, the stingray might as well be flashing a neon sign advertising its exact location. The hammerhead approaches with mathematical precision, its head movements calculating distance and direction with each sweep. At the critical moment, it pivots and strikes, its jaws penetrating the sand with surgical accuracy to extract the hidden ray. To human observers, it appears to be striking at empty sand. To the shark, it is simply following an electrical beacon that guides it to its target with infallible accuracy. But electroreception serves purposes beyond hunting. Recent research suggests that sharks use their electrical sense to navigate using the Earth's magnetic field. As they swim through the planet's magnetic field lines, their movement generates tiny electrical currents in the conductive seawater. These currents, detected by their ampullae of Lorenzini, create an internal compass system that allows them to navigate across vast distances with remarkable precision. Imagine possessing an internal GPS system that never fails, never needs recalibration, and operates in the deepest, darkest waters where no other navigation aid exists. This magnetic navigation explains how sharks can migrate across entire ocean basins and return to the exact seamount, island, or breeding ground where their journey began. They are following highways written in the Earth's magnetic field, invisible roads that have remained constant for millions of years. Now consider their sense of smell, a chemical detection system so sensitive it defies comprehension. A shark's nostrils are not connected to its respiratory system. They exist solely for detecting chemical signatures in the water. Each nostril contains multiple chambers lined with sensory cells, creating a surface area for chemical detection that far exceeds anything found in terrestrial animals. The numbers are staggering. A shark can detect some odors at concentrations as low as 1 part per billion. To put this in perspective, imagine detecting a single teaspoon of sugar dissolved in a lake the size of Lake Tahoe. For certain chemicals, particularly those associated with injury or distress, the sensitivity is even greater. A single drop of blood in 10 billion drops of water, roughly the volume of an Olympic swimming pool, is easily detectable to most shark species. But this is not simply a matter of raw sensitivity. Sharks can distinguish between different types of blood, identifying species, and even individuals based on their unique chemical signatures. They can detect the stress hormones released by frightened prey, the pheromones released by potential mates, and the chemical signals that indicate the health and condition of other organisms. Their olfactory system operates in 3 dimensions, allowing them to follow chemical trails through the water like underwater bloodhounds. As they swim, they constantly sample the water, their movements creating a zigzag pattern that allows them to track the source of interesting odors. When they detect something significant, they can follow the chemical gradient upstream to its source, navigating through complex underwater terrain guided only by molecules dissolved in seawater. Combine this chemical detection with their lateral line system, a network of sensory organs that runs along their sides, like a biological sonar array. The lateral line detects the tiniest movements in the water, sensing the pressure waves created by swimming fish, the vibrations of struggling prey, and even the subtle water movements created by other sharks breathing. This system allows sharks to hunt in complete darkness, navigating and striking with deadly accuracy when no other sense would be sufficient. In the deep sea, where sunlight has never penetrated, and bioluminescence provides the only illumination, sharks use their lateral line systems to paint detailed pictures of their surroundings, using only the movement of water molecules. But perhaps most remarkable of all is their vision, a sensory system that has evolved multiple times to meet the specific demands of different environments. Behind each shark's eye lies a structure called the tapetum lucidum, a mirror-like layer of cells that reflects light back through the retina, giving sharks exceptional night vision. This is the same mechanism that causes cat's eyes to shine in darkness, but shark eyes have evolved additional refinements that make them among the most light-sensitive in the animal kingdom. Deep-sea sharks have pushed visual sensitivity to its absolute limits. Some species can detect light levels so low that they approach the theoretical minimum, the point at which individual photons can be detected. In the midnight zone, where the only light comes from bioluminescent organisms, these sharks can see patterns and displays invisible to almost any other creature. Some sharks have become living constellations themselves. The velvet belly lantern shark, a small deep-sea species, possesses hundreds of photophores, light-producing organs, arranged in precise patterns across its skin. From below, swimming against the faint downwelling light from the surface, the shark becomes invisible, its belly lights perfectly matching the illumination from above. But the photophores also serve as a communication system, flashing coded messages to other sharks in the darkness. Watch a cookie-cutter shark approach a sleeping whale in the deep ocean. This small shark, no larger than your arm, uses bioluminescence as a lure. A ring of photophores around its throat creates a glowing collar that mimics the silhouette of a small fish. When larger predators, or in this case, whales, approach to investigate, the cookie cutter attaches itself and uses its circular rows of teeth to remove a neat plug of flesh, like a living hole punch. The diversity of shark vision reflects the diversity of their environments. Tiger sharks hunting in murky coastal waters have evolved different visual adaptations than blue sharks pursuing prey in the crystal-clear waters of the open ocean. Some species can see well into the ultraviolet spectrum, detecting patterns on prey species that are completely invisible to human eyes. Others have specialized cells for detecting polarized light, allowing them to see through the water's surface glare and spot prey silhouetted against the sky. But the true marvel of shark sensory systems lies not in any single sense but in their integration. The shark's brain processes input from electroreception, chemoreception, mechanoreception, and vision simultaneously, creating a multidimensional awareness of their environment that no human technology can replicate. Picture a great white approaching a seal colony in the early morning light. Its eyes scan the surface for the silhouettes of swimming seals. Its lateral line system detects the pressure waves created by their swimming motions. Its olfactory system samples the water for the chemical signatures of healthy seals versus sick or injured individuals. Its ampullae of Lorenzini monitor the electrical fields generated by their heartbeats and muscle contractions. All of this information flows into a brain that has been refined by millions of years of evolution to process these multiple sensory streams and make split-second decisions. The shark doesn't just see its prey, it experiences it as a multidimensional signature, combining visual, chemical, electrical, and mechanical information. It knows not just where the seal is, but how fast it's swimming, whether it's healthy or injured, stressed or relaxed, aware or distracted. When the attack comes, it is informed by all these senses working in perfect coordination. The shark's approach angle accounts for the seal's swimming speed and direction, calculated from lateral line input. Its timing considers the seal's stress level, detected through chemical signals. Its precise targeting uses electrical cues to identify the most vulnerable parts of the prey's body. Recent research has revealed even more extraordinary sensory capabilities. Some sharks appear to be able to detect infrasound, very low-frequency vibrations that travel vast distances through water. These sounds, below the range of human hearing, are produced by storms, underwater earthquakes, and the movements of large groups of marine animals. Sharks may use infrasound to detect weather systems, locate distant feeding opportunities, or avoid dangerous conditions. Others seem capable of detecting changes in barometric pressure through specialized organs, allowing them to predict weather changes and adjust their behavior accordingly. This pressure sensitivity may explain why some sharks dive deeper before storms or alter their migration timing based on atmospheric conditions. The integration of these senses creates abilities that border on the supernatural. Sharks can detect the approach of other sharks from miles away, sensing their electrical signatures, chemical trails, and pressure waves long before visual contact is possible. They can locate schools of fish in murky water by detecting the collective electrical activity of thousands of swimming prey. They can follow the chemical trails of potential mates across hundreds of miles of open ocean. Consider what it must be like to experience the world through such senses. Every creature in the ocean broadcasts its presence through multiple channels: electrical, chemical, and mechanical. The water itself becomes a medium of communication, carrying information about the health, species, size, and behavior of everything it touches. Distance becomes less relevant when you can detect the electrical signature of a fish's heartbeat from hundreds of yards away. This sensory universe explains behaviors that would otherwise seem impossible. How does a shark find a single injured fish among thousands in a school? It follows the chemical signature of stress hormones and the altered electrical pattern of damaged tissue. How does it navigate through thousands of miles of seemingly featureless ocean? It reads the magnetic map embedded in the Earth's field and follows chemical highways left by previous travelers. As we develop new technologies to explore the ocean depths, we are beginning to appreciate just how sophisticated these ancient sensory systems truly are. Our most advanced sonar systems are crude compared to a shark's lateral line. Our most sensitive chemical detectors cannot match a shark's olfactory capabilities. Our magnetic compasses are simple tools compared to the biological magnetometry that guides these predators across ocean basins. Tomorrow, we will witness how these extraordinary senses inform behaviors that continue to mystify scientists: the great gatherings at underwater mountains, the precise timing of migrations, and the social interactions that suggest intelligence we are only beginning to understand. We will explore the mysterious world of shark behavior, where ancient instincts meet complex decision-making in patterns that challenge our assumptions about what it means to be intelligent in the ocean. But tonight, as you settle into sleep, remember that in the dark waters of the world's oceans, creatures are navigating by senses we can barely imagine, reading the electrical poetry of life itself, following chemical trails older than continents, and seeing light so faint it barely qualifies as illumination. They inhabit a sensory universe as rich and complex as our own, yet utterly alien to human experience, a reminder that consciousness and awareness can take forms we are only beginning to comprehend. Every July, as the southern winter grips the waters around the Galapagos Islands, something extraordinary begins to happen at the underwater mountains that rise from the deep. First comes one scalloped hammerhead, then another, then dozens, until the water fills with hundreds of these bizarre sharks, their flattened heads creating living sculptures against the deep blue backdrop of the open ocean. They arrive with the precision of clockwork, these ancient mariners following calendars written in their genes and astronomy written in the water itself. Watch as they form spiraling formations around the seamount peaks, tornadoes of life that rotate with hypnotic grace in the eternal twilight of the deep. Some swim in tight formation, their movements synchronized like aerial acrobats. Others position themselves at the edges of the group, sentries watching for opportunities or threats. For decades, scientists have observed these gatherings with growing wonder and perplexity. Why would creatures renowned for their solitary nature come together in such numbers? What invisible signals draw them to these exact locations at these precise times? What purposes do these gatherings serve in the ancient rhythm of their lives? The hammerheads arrive from across the eastern Pacific, some traveling hundreds of miles to reach these underwater meeting places. Satellite tracking has revealed individual sharks making journeys from the coast of Ecuador, from the waters off Costa Rica, from distant seamounts scattered across the tropical Pacific. They converge on these peaks with the precision of pilgrims following sacred routes to holy sites. But unlike human pilgrimages, these gatherings follow no human schedule. They are timed to oceanic rhythms, the movement of currents, the phases of the moon, the seasonal shifts in water temperature that signal changes in prey abundance. The sharks arrive when conditions are precisely right, their internal calendars calibrated to environmental cues we are only beginning to understand. Watch them as they swim. During daylight hours, the hammerheads form loose aggregations, their bizarre heads sweeping back and forth as they sample the water for electrical signals. But as darkness approaches, something remarkable happens. The group structure dissolves, and individual sharks begin to disperse into the open ocean, embarking on solitary hunting expeditions that carry them far from the seamount. They become night hunters, pursuing squid and small fish in the nutrient-rich waters above the thermocline. Their electrical senses guide them through the darkness, their lateral line systems detecting the subtle movements of prey invisible in the midnight water. Some dive to depths exceeding 1,000 feet, pursuing deep-sea squid in realms where sunlight has never penetrated. But with the first hint of dawn, they return. One by one, the hammerheads converge back on the seamount, reforming their spiraling aggregations as if nothing had interrupted the continuity of their gathering. This daily rhythm of aggregation and dispersal continues throughout their stay, a pattern that suggests sophisticated social coordination and communication. Recent research has begun to reveal the purposes behind these mysterious gatherings. The seamounts serve as cleaning stations, underwater spas where small fish provide services that the sharks cannot perform for themselves. Clarion angelfish and king angelfish establish territories on the rocky peaks, advertising their services to visiting sharks through distinctive swimming patterns. When a hammerhead approaches a cleaning station, something extraordinary occurs. This powerful predator, capable of detecting and striking hidden prey with deadly precision, enters a trance-like state of submission. It positions its body vertically in the water column, head down, tail up, remaining motionless, while the cleaner fish go to work. The cleaners are meticulous in their service. They remove parasites, dead skin, and infected tissue with surgical precision. They clean the shark's gills, its eyes, even the inside of its mouth. The hammerhead remains completely still during this process, its natural predatory instincts suppressed by ancient behavioral programming that recognizes the value of this interspecies cooperation. But the cleaning stations serve purposes beyond parasite removal. They appear to function as information exchanges, places where sharks from different regions of the ocean can gather and share information through subtle behavioral cues. Researchers have observed complex interactions between hammerheads at these sites, displays of dominance and submission, courtship behaviors, and what can only be described as social recognition between individuals. Some sharks seem to recognize others they have encountered before, adjusting their behavior based on previous interactions. Larger females often dominate the prime cleaning positions, while younger sharks wait their turn at the periphery. These social hierarchies suggest a level of cognitive complexity that challenges our traditional understanding of shark intelligence. The mystery deepens when we consider that not all seamounts attract these gatherings. The sharks choose specific underwater mountains, often passing by seemingly identical features to reach their preferred destinations. What makes one seamount special while another remains deserted? The answer appears to lie in subtle differences in currents, magnetic fields, and geological features that create unique signatures detectable to shark senses but invisible to human perception. Travel now to the warm waters off South Africa, where a different species demonstrates equally mysterious behavior. Here, in the underwater caves and gullies near Aliwal Shoal, grey nurse sharks gather in numbers that defy explanation. These impressive predators, reaching lengths of 10 feet and armed with rows of needle-sharp teeth, congregate in caves where they hover motionless in groups, sometimes for hours at a time. The caves themselves are unremarkable simple holes in the reef formation with no obvious food sources or other attractions. Yet the sharks return to the same caves repeatedly, often using specific positions within each cave as if following an underwater real estate system we cannot decipher. Some sharks consistently occupy the deepest recesses of the caves, while others station themselves near the entrances. The positioning appears to follow a social hierarchy, with larger individuals claiming the most desirable spots. What makes this behavior even more remarkable is that grey nurse sharks are typically solitary hunters. Outside the caves they patrol alone, hunting fish and rays in the open water. But in these underwater sanctuaries, they become social creatures, sharing space in what can only be described as a state of peaceful coexistence. Recent research suggests these cave gatherings may serve multiple purposes. The caves provide protection from larger predators and strong currents, allowing the sharks to rest without expending energy on constant swimming. They may also serve as mating grounds, places where male and female sharks can encounter each other in a controlled environment, away from the demands of hunting and territory defense. But perhaps most intriguingly, the cave gatherings may represent a form of information sharing. Sharks arriving from different hunting areas bring knowledge of prey distributions, water conditions, and the presence of other predators. Through subtle electrical and chemical signals, they may be communicating this information to other members of the group. This information exchange could explain why sharks often leave the caves and travel to specific hunting areas with remarkable efficiency. They may be following recommendations from other sharks, pursuing leads shared through channels of communication we are only beginning to understand. The social aspects of shark behavior become even more apparent in species like the lemon shark, where we can observe relationships forming and persisting across years. In the shallow lagoons of Bimini in the Bahamas, young lemon sharks form social bonds that challenge every assumption about cold-blooded intelligence. These nursery lagoons, protected from large predators by their shallow depth and narrow entrances, become schools for young sharks. Here, juvenile lemon sharks learn to hunt, navigate, and survive through social interactions that mirror the play behavior of young mammals. They form groups based on size and age, with smaller sharks often following larger ones who serve as informal leaders. Watch them as they hunt together, their coordinated movements suggesting sophisticated communication and planning. When one shark locates a school of prey fish, others quickly converge on the area, their arrival timed to take advantage of the confusion created by multiple predators. They seem to understand the advantages of cooperative hunting, dividing the labor of herding prey, and sharing the benefits of successful group attacks. These social bonds persist as the sharks mature. Individual lemon sharks have been observed maintaining associations with specific companions across multiple years, recognizing each other through a combination of electrical signatures, chemical cues, and behavioral patterns. When tagged sharks are recaptured, researchers often find them in the company of the same individuals they were associated with months or years earlier. The learning that occurs in these nursery grounds appears to be cultural information passed from older sharks to younger ones, through observation and imitation. Young sharks learn which areas are safe for hunting, how to recognize and avoid dangers, and when to move between different habitats based on seasonal changes. This cultural transmission of knowledge creates local traditions that can persist across generations. But perhaps the most mysterious aspect of shark behavior is their navigation, their ability to traverse vast distances and return to specific locations with pinpoint accuracy. Female sharks demonstrate this most dramatically through their natal homing behavior, returning to the exact shallow lagoons where they were born to give birth to their own young. Consider the journey of a female lemon shark tagged in the Bahamas. After spending her juvenile years in the protective nursery lagoons, she ventures into the open ocean as an adult, following prey and mates across hundreds of miles of seemingly featureless water. For years, she may roam throughout the Caribbean and Western Atlantic, her movements governed by seasonal prey migrations and reproductive cycles. But when the time comes for her to give birth, she begins an extraordinary journey home. Using navigation systems, we are only beginning to understand magnetic compasses, chemical landmarks, electrical signatures of specific geological features. She travels across vast distances to return to the shallow lagoon where she was born decades earlier. The precision is remarkable. She doesn't just return to the general area but to the specific lagoon, sometimes even to the exact section of the lagoon where she spent her first months of life. She arrives with perfect timing, when water temperatures and prey abundance are optimal for the survival of her young. Her internal calendar, calibrated to environmental cycles, ensures that her offspring will have the best possible chance of survival. This natal homing behavior creates a form of genetic isolation that promotes local adaptation. Sharks born in specific nursery areas develop genetic traits suited to those environments, and by returning to the same areas to reproduce, they maintain populations uniquely adapted to local conditions. The navigation mechanisms that make this possible remain largely mysterious. Sharks appear to use multiple navigation systems simultaneously: magnetic compasses for long-distance orientation, chemical gradients for medium-range navigation, and electrical landmarks for precise positioning. They may also use infrasound navigation, following sound channels created by underwater topography to maintain course across vast distances. Recent technological advances have begun to reveal the complexity of these navigation systems. Accelerometers attached to sharks show that they make subtle adjustments to their swimming patterns based on magnetic field variations too small for humans to detect. Chemical sensors reveal that they follow scent trails that persist in the water for days or weeks after their creation. But technology also reveals behaviors that seem to transcend simple navigation. Some sharks appear to plan their routes, choosing paths that optimize energy expenditure or avoid dangerous areas. They demonstrate what can only be called strategic thinking, adjusting their behavior based on changing conditions and previous experiences. The social implications of these behaviors are profound. If sharks can navigate with such precision, they can also arrange meetings with other sharks at specific locations and times. The hammerhead gatherings at seamounts may represent scheduled social events, planned encounters that allow for information exchange, mate selection, and the maintenance of social bonds across vast ocean territories. Consider the implications of this possibility. These ancient predators may be operating sophisticated social networks that span entire ocean basins, maintaining relationships and sharing information across distances that dwarf human communication systems. The solitary shark, swimming alone through the vast blue, may actually be part of a complex social fabric that connects individuals across thousands of miles of open water. The mating behaviors of sharks add another layer to this mystery. Unlike many marine animals that release eggs and sperm into the water and hope for the best, sharks practice internal fertilization, requiring direct physical contact between males and females. This necessity for intimate contact has driven the evolution of complex courtship behaviors and mating strategies that vary dramatically between species. Male sharks possess paired reproductive organs called claspers, modified pelvic fins that function as reproductive organs. But successful mating requires more than just physical compatibility. It requires sophisticated behavioral coordination between individuals who may have traveled thousands of miles to encounter each other. In some species, courtship begins with elaborate dancing displays. Male sharks perform specific swimming patterns, electrical displays, or chemical releases designed to attract female attention and demonstrate their fitness as mates. These displays must be performed with perfect timing and technique, as females are often significantly larger and more powerful than males, capable of inflicting serious injury on unsuitable suitors. The challenge is compounded by the need for precise timing. Female sharks are receptive to mating only during specific periods of their reproductive cycles. Males must locate females at exactly the right time, in the right place, and in the right physiological condition for reproduction to succeed. This requires a level of coordination and communication that suggests sophisticated social awareness. Some species have evolved even more remarkable mating strategies. Female sharks in several species can store sperm for extended periods, sometimes years, allowing them to delay fertilization until environmental conditions are optimal for offspring survival. This ability effectively separates the act of mating from the timing of reproduction, giving females unprecedented control over when and where their young will be born. Recent genetic studies have revealed that some female sharks practice multiple paternity, mating with several males during a single reproductive cycle. Their offspring, born months later, may have different fathers within the same litter. This strategy ensures genetic diversity and may provide evolutionary advantages in changing environments. The birth process itself demonstrates remarkable adaptability. Some sharks are oviparous, laying eggs in protective cases that develop independently. Others are viviparous, giving birth to live young after extended gestation periods. Still others practice a form of reproduction called ovoviviparity, where eggs hatch inside the mother's body and the young continue developing internally before birth. Each strategy represents a different solution to the challenges of reproduction in marine environments. Egg-laying species often choose specific locations with optimal conditions for development. Rocky crevices that provide protection, areas with good water circulation, or regions with abundant food sources for newly hatched young. The mothers invest considerable energy in finding and preparing these nursery sites, demonstrating planning behavior that extends months into the future. Live-bearing species face different challenges. Pregnant females must maintain their own health while providing nutrients for developing embryos, often for gestation periods exceeding a year. During this time, they must continue hunting, migrating, and avoiding predators while carrying young that may represent a significant portion of their body weight. The care that shark mothers provide for their young extends beyond birth. Many species give birth in specific nursery areas, shallow lagoons, mangrove, creeks, or protected reefs that provide safety from large predators and abundant food sources for growing juveniles. The mother's choice of nursery sites demonstrates sophisticated understanding of environmental factors that influence offspring survival. These nursery areas become centers of learning and development for young sharks. Here, they acquire the skills necessary for survival in the open ocean hunting techniques, predator avoidance strategies, and navigation abilities. The social interactions that occur in these nurseries appear to be crucial for proper development, suggesting that shark intelligence is not purely instinctual but includes learned components. As we observe these behaviors, we begin to understand that sharks are not the simple instinct-driven creatures they were once believed to be. They demonstrate planning, learning, social awareness, and problem-solving abilities that suggest a level of intelligence adapted specifically to their marine environment. Their behaviors follow patterns that span generations, creating cultural traditions passed from parent to offspring and from older sharks to younger ones. These traditions include knowledge of migration routes, feeding areas, mating grounds, and safe havens, information accumulated over decades and passed through the community like an oral history written in electrical signals and chemical messages. The mysteries of shark behavior continue to unfold as new technologies allow us to observe these creatures in their natural environment with unprecedented detail. Each discovery reveals new layers of complexity, new evidence of sophisticated decision-making and social coordination that challenges our understanding of intelligence in the marine world. Tomorrow, we will explore how these ancient behaviors have intersected with human culture throughout our species' history, creating relationships of fear, reverence, and ultimately understanding that continue to evolve as we learn more about these remarkable predators. We will discover how sharks have shaped human imagination and how human understanding has transformed from terror to fascination to a deep appreciation for their crucial role in ocean ecosystems. But tonight, consider the possibility that in the dark waters beneath us, complex social dramas are unfolding, ancient courtship rituals, carefully planned migrations, and sophisticated communication networks that connect individual sharks across vast distances. These behaviors, refined over millions of years, represent solutions to challenges we are only beginning to understand. reminders that intelligence can take forms as alien and beautiful as the creatures that possess it. On the remote island of Leilu in the South Pacific, as the first light of dawn touches the coral reef, an elderly man wades into the lagoon, carrying a coconut shell, rattle and singing songs his grandfather taught him 70 years ago. The words are in a language spoken by fewer than 1,000 people, but their meaning transcends human speech. They are an invitation, a respectful request to the sharks that patrol these waters, that sharks his family has known by name for generations. This is Solomoni, master shark caller of Leilu Island, practicing an art that predates written history. As he shakes the rattle beneath the surface, the underwater vibrations create patterns that mimic the sounds of distressed fish. But this is more than simple acoustic luring. It is a conversation conducted in frequencies older than civilization itself. Within minutes, the first dorsal fin appears, then another. The sharks arrive not with the frenzied aggression of Hollywood imagination, but with the measured curiosity of intelligent predators investigating a familiar signal. These are grey reef sharks, some bearing scars that mark them as individuals Solomoni has encountered many times before. To him, they are not anonymous predators but neighbours with distinct personalities, histories, and roles in the reef community. The relationship between the shark callers of Leilu and their marine neighbours represents one of humanity's oldest and most sophisticated forms of wildlife management. For over 4,000 years, the families of this tiny island have maintained traditions that recognize sharks not as monsters to be feared or resources to be exploited, but as essential partners in maintaining the health of their reef ecosystem. Each family owns specific sections of the reef, and with that ownership comes responsibility for the sharks that live there. The shark callers maintain detailed knowledge of individual animals, their sizes, their behaviors, their preferred hunting grounds, even their social relationships with other sharks. This knowledge is passed from father to son through generations, creating an unbroken chain of understanding that spans millennia. When the time comes to harvest fish from the reef, the shark callers negotiate with their sharks through ancient protocols. They call specific individuals, offering tribute in the form of fish or pork, and request permission to enter their territory. The shark's behavior determines whether fishing will proceed. Aggressive displays mean the request is denied, while calm acceptance grants permission for careful, sustainable harvesting. This system has maintained healthy shark populations and thriving reef ecosystems for thousands of years, long before Western science understood the crucial role of apex predators in marine environments. The shark callers of Leilu discovered through observation and tradition what modern marine biology has confirmed through decades of research, that healthy shark populations are essential for healthy reefs. But the relationship extends beyond practical resource management. In the cosmology of many Pacific Island cultures, sharks are ancestral spirits, the physical manifestation of dead relatives who continue to protect and guide their descendants. Sharks are believed to be the embodied souls of particular ancestors, creating family relationships that transcend the boundaries between human and marine worlds. These beliefs transform every encounter with sharks into a meeting with family elders. The protocols for interaction become rituals of respect and recognition, acknowledging the wisdom and power of these ancient spirits while seeking their guidance and protection. To harm such a shark would be tantamount to attacking one's own grandmother, a violation of fundamental cultural and spiritual law. Similar relationships existed throughout Polynesia and Melanesia, creating a vast network of human-shark partnerships across the Pacific. In Hawaii, the shark god Kamohoali'i was revered as a powerful deity who could take human or shark form at will. Hawaiian families claimed specific sharks as Aumakua guardian spirits that protected them during ocean voyages and warned them of approaching dangers. In Fiji, entire clans trace their ancestry to shark spirits, maintaining sacred sites where these ancestral beings are honored and consulted on important decisions. Traditional Fijian navigation relied heavily on shark behavior, with experienced navigators reading the movements and activities of different species to determine current patterns, weather changes, and the proximity of land. But not all human cultures developed such harmonious relationships with sharks. In medieval Europe, where direct contact with large sharks was limited to occasional strandings, these creatures became symbols of the ocean's unknowable terrors. Medieval bestiaries described sea monsters with characteristics clearly derived from shark encounters, but filtered through layers of fear and misunderstanding. The rare appearances of deep-sea species like the goblin shark with its protrusible jaws and alien appearance generated legends of sea demons and underwater dragons. Japanese fishermen who occasionally captured these bizarre creatures considered them omens, though whether of good or ill fortune depended on local tradition and the circumstances of the encounter. The transformation of European attitudes toward sharks accelerated during the Age of Exploration, when long ocean voyages brought more frequent encounters with large pelagic species. Shipwreck survivors told tales of circling fins and snapping jaws, stories that grew with each retelling until sharks became the ultimate symbol of oceanic death. These fears reached their apotheosis in the literature of the 18th and 19th centuries, where sharks appeared as mindless killing machines driven by insatiable bloodlust. Herman Melville's descriptions of sharks in Moby Dick captured the prevailing attitude. Though amid all the smoking horror and diabolism of a sea fight, sharks will be seen longingly gazing up to the ship's decks, like hungry dogs round a table where red meat is being carved, ready to bolt down every killed man that is tossed to them. The 20th century initially reinforced these negative perceptions. The sinking of the USS Indianapolis in 1945, where sharks were blamed for many of the casualties among survivors, became a defining moment in public consciousness. The fact that most deaths were actually due to exposure, dehydration, and drowning was overshadowed by sensational accounts of shark attacks. Hollywood cemented these fears with Jaws in 1975, creating a cultural phenomenon that painted great white sharks as vengeful monsters capable of following boats, opening doors, and apparently plotting revenge against the humans who dared enter their domain. The film's impact on public perception was so profound that it triggered decades of shark persecution, with trophy hunters and fishing tournaments specifically targeting large sharks as symbols of human dominance over nature. But even as popular culture demonized sharks, a quiet revolution was beginning in marine science. The transformation started with individuals who chose to see sharks not as monsters, but as subjects worthy of scientific study and understanding. Eugenie Clark, known as the Shark Lady, began her groundbreaking research in the 1950s, when the prevailing scientific view held that sharks were simple, instinct-driven creatures incapable of learning or complex behavior. Working at research stations in the Red Sea and later in Florida, Clark designed experiments that would fundamentally change how science viewed shark intelligence. In carefully controlled studies, she trained sharks to ring bells for food rewards, navigate mazes, and distinguish between different geometric shapes. The results astonished the scientific community. Sharks demonstrated learning ability, memory retention, and problem-solving skills that challenged every assumption about their mental capabilities. Clark's work revealed that sharks could be conditioned to respond to specific stimuli, that they remembered lessons for weeks or months, and that they could modify their behavior based on experience. These findings shattered the myth of the mindless killer, replacing it with evidence of cognitive complexity that demanded a fundamental reassessment of shark biology and behavior. The 1960s and 70s saw the emergence of a new generation of researchers who brought revolutionary approaches to shark study. Instead of relying on captured specimens or occasional encounters with dead animals, scientists like Perry Gilbert, Donald Nelson, and Arthur Merberg began studying living sharks in their natural environment. Using newly developed technologies, scuba gear, underwater cameras, and electronic tracking devices, these researchers revealed aspects of shark behavior that had never been observed before. They documented complex social interactions, sophisticated hunting strategies, and navigation abilities that seemed to border on the miraculous. Perhaps most importantly, they began to quantify the ecological role of sharks in marine ecosystems. Through careful observation and experimentation, they demonstrated that sharks were not random killers, but highly selective predators whose hunting patterns maintained the balance of entire food webs. The transformation of public perception accelerated in the 1970s with the work of filmmakers like Jacques Cousteau and his son Philippe. Their underwater documentaries showed audiences a different vision of sharks, not as mindless monsters, but as graceful, intelligent predators perfectly adapted to their marine environment. Philippe Cousteau's encounters with oceanic whitetips in the Red Sea became legendary, showing viewers that sharks could be curious rather than aggressive, investigative rather than hostile. His calm interactions with these powerful predators, filmed without cages or barriers, demonstrated that understanding and respect could replace fear and hatred. The Cousteau films revealed the beauty of shark behavior, their graceful swimming, their complex social interactions, and their crucial role in maintaining healthy ocean ecosystems. For the first time, mainstream audiences saw sharks as integral parts of marine environments rather than alien invaders to be eliminated. This shift in perception gained momentum through the work of researchers like Samuel Gruber, who established the Bimini Biological Field Station in the Bahamas, specifically to study shark behavior and ecology. Gruber's long-term studies of lemon sharks revealed remarkable aspects of their social behavior, learning capabilities, and sight fidelity that further challenged traditional assumptions about shark intelligence. The field station became a training ground for a new generation of shark researchers, including scientists like Mahmoud Shivji, who pioneered the use of genetic techniques to study shark populations, and Demian Chapman, whose DNA analysis revealed the complex mating, systems, and population structures of various species. As research techniques improved, the picture of shark ecology became increasingly sophisticated. Scientists discovered that sharks undertook migrations spanning thousands of miles, that they demonstrated remarkable sight fidelity to specific feeding and breeding areas, and that they played crucial roles in connecting different marine ecosystems through their movements. The development of satellite tracking technology in the 1990s and 2000s revolutionized shark research, allowing scientists to follow individual animals across entire ocean basins. The data revealed migration patterns of staggering complexity, with sharks following specific routes that connected breeding areas, feeding grounds, and nursery sites across vast distances. These discoveries coincided with growing awareness of the threats facing shark populations worldwide. Industrial fishing, driven by demand for shark fin soup and other products, was decimating populations faster than they could recover. Species that had survived for millions of years were facing extinction within human lifetimes. The irony was profound, just as science was revealing the remarkable intelligence, ecological importance, and complex behaviors of sharks. Human activities were driving many species toward extinction. The predators that had survived the great dying that killed the dinosaurs were being eliminated by fishing nets and long lines, but understanding began to drive conservation. In places like Fiji, where traditional reverence for sharks intersected with modern marine science, innovative conservation programs emerged. The Shark Reef Marine Reserve at Bekka Lagoon became a model for community-based conservation, where local communities chose to protect their sharks rather than harvest them. The economics were compelling. Living sharks, attracting dive tourism, generated far more income for local communities than dead sharks sold to international markets. A single bull shark at Shark Reef could generate tens of thousands of dollars annually through dive tourism, while the same shark sold for its fins might bring a few $100s once. The success of Shark Reef inspired similar programs throughout the world. creating a new model for shark conservation based on economic incentives rather than regulatory restrictions. Communities that had traditionally viewed sharks as resources to be harvested began to see them as assets to be protected. The transformation continues today as new technologies reveal ever more sophisticated aspects of shark behavior and ecology. Genetic analysis shows that some sharks can reproduce through parthenogenesis, creating offspring without mating. Electronic tags reveal that some species can dive to depths exceeding 4,000 feet, accessing deep-sea ecosystems we barely understand. Social media and documentary films continue to transform public perception, showing audiences the remarkable intelligence and ecological importance of these ancient predators. Each new discovery adds complexity to our understanding, replacing simple stereotypes with appreciation for the sophisticated behavioral and ecological adaptations that have allowed sharks to thrive for nearly 500 million years. Tomorrow, we will explore how modern science and technology are revealing new secrets about these ancient creatures, from their remarkable adaptability to changing ocean conditions to their potential role in addressing some of the greatest challenges facing marine ecosystems. We will discover how sharks, once viewed as relics of a primitive past, are now seen as harbingers of ocean futures we are only beginning to imagine. But tonight, consider the remarkable journey from fear to understanding that has characterized humanity's relationship with sharks. In little more than half a century, we have transformed our view of these creatures from mindless killers to sophisticated predators, deserving of respect and protection. This transformation represents one of the most dramatic shifts in human perception of any wild animal, a testament to the power of scientific understanding to overcome ancient fears and cultural prejudices. In the research laboratory at the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution, marine biologist Cameron Braun stares at a computer screen displaying one of the most remarkable journeys ever recorded. The red line traces the path of a mako shark named Carol across 17,000 miles of open ocean, from the waters off New Zealand to Fiji and back again, completed in less than 2 years of constant swimming. Carol's journey reveals something extraordinary about the oceans we thought we knew. Her route didn't follow the obvious paths that human navigators might choose, but instead traced invisible highways of current and temperature, following corridors of optimal hunting conditions across vast distances. Her track reveals a hidden geography of the ocean, a three-dimensional landscape of opportunity and challenge that exists far beyond human perception. But Carol's journey represents more than just an individual shark's remarkable navigation ability. Her path connects ecosystems separated by thousands of miles of open water, creating biological bridges that maintain genetic diversity and evolutionary resilience across entire ocean basins. Through her movements, she links the coral reefs of Fiji with the temperate waters of New Zealand, carrying nutrients, parasites, and genetic material between distant marine communities. This is the new frontier of shark science, understanding how these ancient navigators connect and maintain the ocean's living systems through their movements. Each tracked shark reveals new highways, new connections, new understanding of how marine ecosystems function as integrated networks rather than isolated islands of life. The technology revealing these secrets advances with breathtaking speed. Satellite tags now record not just location but depth, temperature, and acceleration, creating detailed portraits of shark behavior in 3 dimensions. Some tags detect when sharks feed, revealing hunting patterns and prey preferences with unprecedented precision. Others measure heart rate and metabolic activity, showing how sharks respond physiologically to different environments and challenges. Even more remarkably, new acoustic telemetry networks are creating underwater internet systems that track shark movements in real time. Arrays of underwater receivers, deployed along coastlines and around islands worldwide, automatically detect and record the movements of tagged sharks, creating massive databases of behavioral information that reveal patterns invisible to previous generations of researchers. The data flowing from these systems is transforming our understanding of shark ecology at scales from the individual to the global. We now know that some great whites have preferred hunting areas the size of small countries, that they return to specific seamounts with clockwork precision, and that their movements are influenced by oceanographic features as subtle as temperature differences of less than 1 degree Celsius. But perhaps most remarkably, we're discovering that sharks possess a form of cultural memory that guides their use of these vast ocean territories. Genetic studies of shark populations reveal that some migration routes have remained unchanged for thousands of generations, passed from parent to offspring through mechanisms we're only beginning to understand. Consider the implications. These ancient animals are not just following instinctual programs but maintaining traditions that span geological time. They carry in their genes and behaviors the accumulated wisdom of countless generations, knowledge of how to survive and thrive in ocean conditions that have changed dramatically over evolutionary time. This cultural memory is proving crucial as sharks face the most rapid environmental changes in their evolutionary history. Ocean temperatures are rising, currents are shifting, and the chemical composition of seawater is changing as it absorbs excess carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. Yet tracking data shows that many shark populations are responding to these changes with remarkable adaptability. Great white sharks, traditionally associated with temperate and subtropical waters, are now appearing in previously frozen Arctic regions as sea ice retreats and water temperatures rise. These expansions of range represent opportunities for sharks to colonize new habitats and exploit new food sources, demonstrating the flexibility that has allowed them to survive previous periods of global change. Bull sharks are pushing further into freshwater systems, following warming river temperatures deeper into continental interiors. In some regions, they're establishing resident populations in freshwater lakes and rivers, demonstrating an adaptability to changing salinity conditions that may prove crucial as climate change alters precipitation patterns and river flows. Even more remarkably, some shark species are demonstrating behavioral flexibility that allows them to exploit new opportunities created by human activities. In several locations, sharks have learned to associate fishing boats with feeding opportunities, following fleets and scavenging discarded bycatch. They've adapted their hunting strategies to take advantage of fish farms, underwater construction sites, and even underwater cable installations that attract prey species. The reproductive strategies of sharks are proving equally adaptable. New research reveals that some species can store sperm for extraordinary periods up to 3 years, in some cases allowing females to time reproduction precisely to environmental conditions. This sperm storage creates a biological time delay system that helps ensure offspring are born when conditions are optimal for survival. Even more remarkably, several shark species have demonstrated the ability to reproduce through parthenogenesis, virgin birth, when males are unavailable. This reproductive flexibility provides an evolutionary insurance policy, allowing isolated females to establish new populations in previously uninhabited areas. These adaptations are being revealed through genetic techniques that would have seemed like science fiction just a few decades ago. Environmental DNA sampling can detect what species of sharks have passed through an area days after they've moved on, simply by analyzing water samples for genetic material shed from skin and bodily functions. This technique is revolutionizing our ability to monitor shark populations and understand their distribution patterns. Researchers can now survey vast areas of ocean without ever seeing a shark, detecting the presence of rare or elusive species through their genetic signatures in the water column. Marine protected areas are becoming laboratories for understanding shark recovery and adaptation. In regions where fishing pressure has been reduced or eliminated, shark populations are rebounding at rates that surprise even optimistic researchers. Some species show population increases of 300% within a decade of protection, demonstrating remarkable resilience when given the opportunity to recover. The Papahānaumokuākea Marine National Monument in Hawaii provides one of the most dramatic examples. This vast protected area, covering over 580,000 square miles of ocean, has become a refuge where shark populations are recovering to levels not seen in over a century. Galapagos sharks, sandbar sharks, and tiger sharks are all showing strong population recoveries, and their increasing numbers are having cascading effects throughout the ecosystem. The recovery is creating natural experiments in ecosystem restoration. As shark populations rebuild, their influence on prey species becomes apparent. Fish communities are becoming more diverse and balanced. Coral reefs within the protected area are showing increased resilience to bleaching events and disease outbreaks. The presence of healthy shark populations appears to strengthen the entire ecosystem's ability to withstand environmental stresses. But the success of these protected areas depends on understanding shark movements and behavior at scales that match their actual use of ocean space. Modern tracking technology reveals that individual sharks often have home ranges larger than entire countries, making traditional approaches to marine protection inadequate for their conservation needs. This realization is driving the development of new approaches to ocean conservation based on dynamic rather than static protection. Instead of protecting fixed areas, managers are experimenting with mobile protected areas that move with shark populations, creating shields of protection that follow animals as they undertake their vast migrations. Satellite tracking makes such dynamic protection possible by providing real-time information about shark locations and movements. When tagged sharks enter critical habitats or vulnerable life stages, temporary fishing restrictions can be activated automatically, providing protection exactly when and where it's needed most. International cooperation is proving essential for protecting species that migrate across entire ocean basins. The recent designation of shark highways between the Galapagos Islands and Cocos Island creates a protected corridor that spans international boundaries, allowing hammerhead sharks safe passage between critical habitats. Similar corridors are being established throughout the world's oceans, creating networks of protection that match the scale of shark movements. These initiatives require unprecedented cooperation between nations, but they offer hope for maintaining viable populations of highly migratory species. New research techniques are revealing aspects of shark biology that may prove crucial for their conservation. Hormonal analysis of blood samples can determine the reproductive status of female sharks without the need for invasive procedures. Stable isotope analysis of tissue samples reveals where sharks have been feeding and how their diets change with season and location. Chemical analysis of shark teeth and vertebrae provides growth histories that extend back years or even decades, revealing how environmental changes have affected individual animals throughout their lives. These techniques are creating biological archives that document ocean changes from the perspective of the animals that live in them. The integration of all this information is creating predictive models that can forecast how shark populations will respond to future environmental changes. These models suggest that while some species may struggle with rapid change, others are likely to benefit from new opportunities created by shifting ocean conditions. The key appears to be maintaining connectivity between populations and preserving the full range of habitats that sharks use throughout their life cycles. Species with flexible reproductive strategies, broad diets, and high mobility are likely to be the most resilient to future changes. But perhaps most importantly, the new research is revealing that sharks themselves may be part of the solution to some of the ocean's greatest challenges. Their role in maintaining healthy ecosystems makes them natural allies in efforts to preserve marine biodiversity and ecosystem services. Healthy shark populations help maintain fish stocks that support human fisheries. They promote the health of coral reefs that protect coastlines from storm damage. They support the function of seagrass beds that store carbon and filter coastal waters. Their presence indicates healthy ocean ecosystems that provide countless benefits to human societies. Tomorrow, we will explore the deepest implications of these discoveries, understanding how sharks have become symbols not just of ocean health, but of our planet's remarkable ability to maintain the conditions necessary for life itself. We will discover how these ancient predators have become guardians of the breathing ocean, maintaining rhythms that keep our water planet alive. But tonight, consider the remarkable journey we've traced from ancient seas to modern oceans, from fear to understanding, from persecution to protection. The sharks that emerged from Ordovician seas 450 million years ago continue to reveal new secrets, new adaptations, new ways of surviving and thriving in changing oceans. They are living testaments to the power of evolution to create solutions to challenges we can barely imagine. Ancient wisdom swimming through tomorrow's seas. Float with me now in the midnight waters off the big island of Hawaii, where the eternal darkness of the deep ocean meets the last traces of starlight filtering down from above. Here, in underwater caves carved from ancient lava flows, white-tip reef sharks have gathered for their nightly rest. Their sleek bodies sway gently with the current in a meditation that has continued unbroken for millions of years, a rhythm as constant as the planet's rotation, as enduring as the tides themselves. Watch them breathe. Unlike their pelagic cousins who must swim constantly to force water over their gills, these reef sharks have mastered the art of stillness. They position themselves in the cave's gentle currents, allowing the flowing water to deliver oxygen while they rest. Their gill slits flutter in perfect synchronization with the water's movement, a breathing pattern that connects them to the ocean's own respiratory rhythm. This is more than rest, it is participation in the planet's deepest metabolic processes. Each breath these sharks take is part of a global circulation system that has maintained Earth's atmospheric balance for billions of years. The oxygen they extract from seawater was produced by marine phytoplankton, microscopic plants that convert carbon dioxide and sunlight into the gas that sustains complex life. But the shark's relationship to this system extends far beyond simple consumption. Through their movements, their hunting, their very presence, they maintain the oceanic conditions that allow phytoplankton to flourish. They are gardeners of the invisible forests that produce half the oxygen we breathe, caretakers of the marine ecosystems that regulate our planet's climate. Consider the mathematics of their influence. A healthy population of sharks maintains balanced fish communities that graze on algae without destroying the microscopic plants that form the base of marine food webs. Remove the sharks, and herbivorous fish populations explode, overgrazing the algae and reducing the ocean's capacity to produce oxygen and absorb carbon dioxide. This relationship operates on scales that span from the microscopic to the global. In the coral reefs where white-tip sharks rest, their presence allows cleaner fish to emerge from hiding during daylight hours. These small fish remove algae from coral surfaces, preventing the corals from being smothered by plant growth. Healthy corals support diverse fish communities, which attract larger predators, which maintain the balance of the entire system. The cascade effects extend into realms we're only beginning to understand. Healthy coral reefs buffer coastlines from storm damage, protecting human communities from the increasing intensity of climate-driven weather events. The fish supported by shark-maintained reefs provide protein for millions of people worldwide. The tourism attracted by healthy marine ecosystems generates billions of dollars in economic activity. But sharks' role as guardians extends deeper than these ecological services. They are living libraries of genetic information, repositories of Tamdar, evolutionary solutions tested and refined across geological time. Their genomes contain blueprints for surviving mass extinctions, adapting to changing ocean chemistry, and thriving in environments that would challenge any other vertebrate. Recent genetic research reveals that sharks possess remarkably stable genomes with lower mutation rates than most other vertebrates. This genetic stability, combined with their exceptional longevity, makes them living archives of ocean history. Some Greenland sharks alive today may have been born before the American Revolution, carrying in their tissues chemical signatures of ocean conditions from centuries past. Their longevity gives them a perspective on environmental change that spans human generations. A Greenland shark that has lived for 400 years has experienced little ice age, cooling, industrial revolution, warming, and modern climate change. Their tissues record these changes like tree rings, providing scientists with biological archives of how ocean conditions have changed over centuries. This long-term perspective is crucial as we face unprecedented rates of environmental change. Sharks have survived previous periods of rapid climate change, and their adaptations provide blueprints for how marine life might respond to current challenges. Their flexibility in diet, habitat use, and reproductive timing offers hope for ecosystem resilience in an uncertain future. The electromagnetic sensors that guide sharks through dark waters connect them to Earth's magnetic field in ways that make them living components of the planet's navigation system. Their ability to detect magnetic anomalies allows them to locate underwater mountains, oceanic ridges, and other geological features that structure marine ecosystems. This connection to the planet's magnetic field makes sharks inadvertent monitors of geological processes. Their navigation patterns reflect changes in magnetic field strength and orientation, providing scientists with biological instruments for studying Earth's magnetic behavior over evolutionary timescales. As they navigate using these ancient senses, sharks maintain connections between distant marine ecosystems, carrying nutrients, genetic material, and information across vast distances. Their migrations link Arctic and tropical waters, connecting the planet's marine ecosystems in a network of biological highways that maintain global ocean health. The same electroreception that allows them to detect hidden prey makes them sensitive to the electrical fields generated by human technology. Underwater cables, offshore wind farms, and other marine infrastructure create electrical noise that can interfere with shark navigation and behavior. Understanding these interactions is crucial for developing ocean technologies that are compatible with marine life. But perhaps most remarkably, sharks may be inadvertent allies in humanity's efforts to address climate change. Their role in maintaining healthy marine ecosystems enhances the ocean's capacity to absorb carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. Seagrass beds maintained by shark predation store carbon at rates exceeding those of terrestrial forests. Healthy fish populations, supported by balanced predation, create more efficient nutrient cycling that enhances marine productivity. The carbon storage capacity of shark-maintained ecosystems is staggering. A single seagrass meadow can store as much carbon per unit area as a tropical rainforest, locking it away in sediments for centuries. The presence of sharks helps maintain these underwater carbon sinks through their influence on grazing patterns and nutrient distribution. Coral reefs protected by healthy shark populations show greater resilience to bleaching events and ocean acidification. The complex food webs maintained by apex predators create redundancy and stability that help reef systems withstand environmental stresses. This resilience becomes increasingly important as reefs face unprecedented challenges from warming and acidifying oceans. In the deep sea, sharks play crucial roles in carbon cycling that we're only beginning to understand. Their vertical migrations transport carbon from surface waters to the deep ocean, where it can remain locked away from the atmosphere for centuries. Their feeding in surface waters and excretion at depth creates a biological carbon pump that helps regulate atmospheric carbon dioxide levels. The six-gill sharks that rise from abyssal depths each night are operating one of the planet's most ancient carbon sequestration systems. As they feed in the twilight zone and return to the deep, they transport carbon downward at scales that rival human industrial processes. A single population of these deep-diving sharks may sequester thousands of tons of carbon annually, contributing to the ocean's role as Earth's primary carbon sink. Their movements through the water column also distribute nutrients essential for marine productivity. The nitrogen and phosphorus they carry from deep to shallow waters fertilize the phytoplankton communities that form the base of marine food webs. Without these biological elevators moving nutrients vertically through the ocean, surface productivity would decline dramatically, reducing the ocean's capacity to support life and regulate climate. As we track these movements through advanced tagging technology, we're discovering that sharks maintain ocean circulation patterns in ways we never imagined. Their migrations follow and reinforce deep-water currents that distribute heat around the globe, moderating Earth's climate. They are living components of the planetary thermostat, their movements helping to maintain the temperature stability that allows complex life to flourish. The timing of their migrations connects them to astronomical cycles that have regulated planetary rhythms for billions of years. Some species time their movements to lunar cycles, following patterns established long before continents took their current forms. Others respond to seasonal changes in day length, their internal clocks synchronized with Earth's orbital rhythm around the sunday. This connection to celestial rhythms makes sharks participants in cycles that extend beyond the marine realm. Their migrations influence coastal ecosystems as they transport marine nutrients to shallow waters where they can be accessed by seabirds, marine mammals, and coastal vegetation. Islands and coastlines around the world depend on these shark-mediated nutrient deliveries for their ecological productivity. Consider the profound implications of this interconnectedness. Every shark swimming in the ocean is simultaneously part of local, regional, and global systems that maintain planetary habitability. Their hunting maintains local ecosystem balance. Their migrations connect regional ecosystems. Their participation in global nutrient and carbon cycles helps regulate Earth's climate and atmospheric composition. The loss of shark populations reverberates through all these scales. Local ecosystems lose their apex predators and begin to simplify. Regional networks of connectivity break down as migration corridors become depopulated. Global cycles of nutrient and carbon transport lose crucial biological components, reducing the ocean's capacity to regulate planetary conditions. But the story of sharks also offers profound hope. Their 450 million year history demonstrates that life can persist and adapt through even the most catastrophic changes. They have survived ice ages and greenhouse periods, asteroid impacts and volcanic catastrophes, continental drift and changing ocean chemistry. Their existence proves that adaptation and resilience are possible, even in the face of seemingly insurmountable challenges. Modern conservation efforts are beginning to recognize and protect the global-scale processes that sharks maintain. International agreements are creating protected corridors that span entire ocean basins, allowing sharks to complete their migrations and maintain their roles in planetary systems. Marine protected areas are being designed not just to protect local populations, but to preserve the connectivity that allows sharks to function as planetary guardians. The success of these efforts is already visible in recovered populations, showing their remarkable resilience. In areas where protection has been established, shark populations are rebounding faster than anyone predicted, demonstrating the powerful capacity for recovery that evolution has built into these ancient lineages. New generations of researchers are developing technologies that allow us to study sharks at the planetary scale their ecology demands. Satellite tags, genetic sampling, and artificial intelligence are creating a global monitoring system that tracks shark movements, population dynamics, and ecosystem impacts across all the world's oceans simultaneously. This global perspective reveals that sharks are not just components of marine ecosystems, but active participants in Earth system processes that maintain planetary habitability. They are living embodiments of the connections between life and environment that make our planet unique in the known universe. As citizen science initiatives engage millions of people in shark research and conservation, we're creating a global community united in protecting these ancient guardians. Divers, fishers, coastal communities, and ocean enthusiasts worldwide are contributing observations, photographs, and support that advances our understanding and conservation of sharks. The transformation in human attitudes towards sharks represents one of the most dramatic shifts in environmental awareness in modern history. In just a few decades, we've moved from viewing sharks as enemies to be eliminated to recognizing them as essential partners in maintaining ocean health and planetary stability. This shift offers hope for addressing other environmental challenges. If we can transform our relationship with sharks from fear and exploitation to understanding and protection, we can apply the same principles to other conservation challenges. The success of shark conservation demonstrates that science, education, and international cooperation can overcome even deeply entrenched misconceptions and destructive practices. As we look toward the future, sharks offer guidance for navigating an uncertain world. Their adaptability teaches us that resilience comes from maintaining diversity and connectivity. Their longevity shows us the value of taking long-term perspectives on environmental challenges. Their global migrations remind us that local actions can have planetary consequences. The children growing up today will inherit oceans where sharks are protected and celebrated rather than feared and persecuted. They will understand from childhood that these ancient predators are essential partners in maintaining the conditions that allow life to flourish on our blue planet. In protecting sharks, we protect the ocean's memory, the accumulated wisdom of hundreds of millions of years of evolution that has created the most successful predators in Earth's history. We preserve living libraries of genetic information that may prove crucial for understanding how life adapts to environmental change. We also protect the ocean's future. The ecosystems maintained by healthy shark populations will be more resilient to climate change, more productive in supporting human needs, and more capable of continuing their roles as planetary life support systems. As you drift towards sleep tonight, know that somewhere in the vast darkness of the world's oceans, ancient shapes are moving through eternal waters. They swim along pathways older than mountains, following rhythms established before complex life colonized the land. Their movements maintain the circulation of nutrients that feeds microscopic forests, producing the oxygen in every breath you take. They are the ocean's memory made flesh, carrying in their genes the story of life's greatest experiment, the creation of a planet where water stays liquid, where atmospheres remain breathable, where the delicate chemistry of life persists across geological time. In their graceful movements through midnight waters, they write and rewrite the equations that balance our world. They are living guardians of the breathing ocean, ancient wisdom ensuring that tomorrow's tides will still pulse with life, that future generations will inherit seas as rich and wondrous as any that have existed in Earth's long history. The shadows that emerged from Ordovician seas continue their eternal patrol, unchanged and unchanging, proof that some solutions are so perfect they transcend time itself. In protecting them, we protect not just remarkable creatures, but the very rhythms that keep our water planet alive, the heartbeat of the sea, the breath of the world, the ancient dance of predator and prey that maintains the beautiful, fragile, resilient system we call life on Earth.